Of the SADC Organ for Peace, Politics, Defence and Security to Mozambique's head of state, Filipe Nyusi. The handover took place in Gaborone, Botswana, where the annual SADC summit is taking place. During his one-year tenure, President Zuma led peace efforts in Lesotho. He thanked his peers for support and pledged to continue to work with other countries to consolidate democracy in the region. The summit also saw Botswana President Ian Khama take the reins from Zimbabwe's Robert Mugabe as the chairperson of the SADC Secretariat. The SADC leaders are aiming to adopt the roadmap for the region's development. Let's get a little bit more on the story. We're now joined on the line from Gaborone by SABC News reporter Mzwandile Mbeje. Mzwandile, very good morning to you once again. Let's continue where we left off in our 6 o'clock discussion and talk a bit more about President Jacob Zuma's tenure. What sort of legacy, perhaps, should I say, has he left during his time as the SADC Organ for Peace, Security, Defence been?
Thank you very much, Ayanda. As you've indicated, the chairperson of the organ was under South Africa, of course, President Jacob Zuma as president. What is important is that even South Africa had been selected at the last year's summit in Victoria Falls because Lesotho, which was supposed to be the incoming chair, was at the time not stable. So one of the most important things that President Jacob Zuma spearheaded, of course, you'd know that he even appointed, with the assistance of SADC, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, to deal with the situation in Lesotho. You'd remember that at the time when President Zuma was the chairperson of the organ, so Lesotho was having serious difficulties. We have seen in February this year that Lesotho was able to hold elections, and then we have now the new Prime Minister. Yes, there are still challenges there and there, but on the whole, that country is stabilizing. And in the Eastern DRC, where the negative forces or the rebels that have been refusing to disarm, so the president has been engaged with all those matters, and then we are seeing improvement. That is why in one of their reports, they are stating that SADC remains the most stable region on the continent. So which means they've been able to get the continent or rather the region together. In Madagascar, for example, we also saw elections there, and then the situation is normalizing. Basically, under the chairpersonship of President Zuma of the organ, so we have had a situation where countries in the region have had about 6 elections. We have had 6 elections, and all those elections were declared free and fair.
I believe President Zuma did give some sort of an address there. What did he have to say, Mzwandile?
What he did, because he was the chair, or the outgoing chair of the organ, was that he was able to update his peers on the work that has been done, specifically on the security of the region. I have said Lesotho now is stabilizing. Yes, there are still challenges there and there, but there are processes to contain those. And then in the DRC, you remember there was a near full-scale war, I think at the beginning of last year, but all that has been contained because those negative forces are being neutralized. And he was updating them to say, if we pull together as a region, as all countries, and put our resources, so we'll be able to stabilize this region. For example, in October, South Africa will be hosting an exercise of military personnel, basically to make sure that should there be a reason where there needs to be a response militarily, the region is ready. So those are the kind of updates that President Jacob Zuma updated his colleagues.
During the deliberations, anything on the issue of immigration come to the fore?
Well, this time round, it was not the main issue, the issue of migration. But what came out, especially from the incoming chair, President Ian Khama of Botswana, was that the region really needs to speed up its integration. Because once the region is integrated economically, once there is free trade, once people are able to do business easily, and there's prosperity across the countries, so these are the issues really that will not arise. Because if you look at the issue of migration at the moment, it's people trying to get into other countries because there are economic hardships where they come from. So if the region pushes ahead with this project that it has adopted to industrialize, it basically says So then the region will be able to be on par. So there will be no need really of movement of people simply because there's economic difficulties in their countries, but they'll be able to cater for themselves. And if trade is also increased amongst the countries, so they'll then be able to cater for their people.
We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you so much for that update. Mzwandile Mbeje speaking to us earlier, saying that leaders have come together in a consolidated effort to make sure that such SADC summits become more than just a talk shop with lofty ideals, but go into full-scale implementation. Just some of the thoughts that Mzwandile had shared with us a little bit earlier, if you missed that part of his interview. But let's leave it there, at least for now. Thank you so much for that update, and take a look at what's happening in